Alright guys, it's time we finally realize that we've all been being lied to and accept the fact that Sekiro is not a Souls-like. Not in the slightest. I get it. I really do. It's easy to just throw it in with the rest of FromSoft's games as a Souls-like. However, I promise you that after you hear me out, you will at least agree that if Sekiro shouldn't be crowned the king of its own subgenre, then you will at least agree it doesn't fall into what makes the Souls genre a thing. Well then, Alden, what makes a game a Souls-like, I hear you ask? And, well, when I asked my community, they gave mixed characteristics. Everything from hard combat with dark themes and impressive boss fights, to things like hidden lore, stamina-based combat, and of course, the bosses. I even had a few say things like what's showing on screen right now. And let me tell you, 𝐓𝐴 here made me laugh with his analogy, and the other two made me stop to think a bit harder. And with the community breakdown, I can understand one thing very well, and that is what makes a Souls-like has no conclusive definition amongst the community. They all have their own thoughts, their own processes of what makes a game fall into this genre or not. So I went digging. I searched the hells known as Google search and even the bowels of Reddit itself, and guys, I've seen some things, but what I got from these searches was also that it's not conclusive. So I went to the one place that most of us collectively have decided to hate on principle, and I asked ChatGPT what makes a Souls-like. I even checked the Wikipedia, and you know what? Screw it. I'll say what I think it is and you can tell me if I'm wrong or not. But we will go from this premise for the rest of my argument, okay? So here is my take on what a Souls-like is. First, Souls-likes tend to be a basic style role-playing game, i.e. an RPG. What do I mean by basic? Well, that's easy. You get to choose where your stats go, and you progress as you level, and you have a diverse set of builds that you can play as in order to give you multiple ways to play said game. Think Dungeons & Dragons for this. You can play Curse of Strahd like 80 different ways, but it's the same story. Second most important thing most people point out is the fact that your combat is based around your ability to manage your stamina bar. If you can't watch that green bar while you're fighting, you're not going to make it most of the time. Third, the fact that when you die, you drop some sort of leveling loot item and you can recollect but lose forever if you die again. It's less of a resurrection and more of a soul retrieval or asset reacquisition at this point. Fourth, interconnected environments. In my opinion, Bloodborne did this the best. Anywhere in the game that you can see, you can get to. And they all interconnect. Two words say this the best, and it's shortcut unlocked. Fifth would be how the story is told. That cryptic storytelling is nuts, and the source of so much damn debate over the internet. Am I right, guys? Half the community says it's storytelling through lore and listening to what the NPCs have to say. The other half says it's not storytelling at all, it's just lore and world building, which is not a valid substitute for actual storytelling. And both sides fight tooth and nail defending whichever argument they follow. A couple of things that bring an X factor to the Souls series would be atmosphere and the bonfire system. I guess these could fall under the environments, but I feel they should get their own love here. So that's it. I get that section was a bit long, but I feel we should be as thorough as we can be if we're going to bring this debate to a close. I think if a game don't fall under at least half of these particular rules, it shouldn't even be in the running for a Souls-like. So why am I fighting this? Doesn't Sekiro fit all of my categories? Well, no, not at all. And let's start with the most basic difference here, the RPG variety that Souls games have. Traded in is our build diversity for a fixed style of fighting. No longer do we have the ability to equip 17 different weapons. You are a katana wielder, and you better love it. That is your role. Leveling up is no longer based on getting a set number of souls or runes. You get a bit stronger based on a sort of checkpoint system where certain bosses give you the ability to power up your health bar and your posture bar. I mean, it also increases your damage too. Speaking of the posture bar and getting into combat a bit, gone is your stamina bar. If you get good enough at the game, you never have to worry about being able to attack on time or not. Yes, both game types are about timing, but where Souls-likes are about dodging and blocking in a way that you can keep enough stamina to punish a worn-out boss, Sekiro is about timing your parries. Dodge too much and you're out of stamina and out of luck. Parry perfectly all the time and your posture bar stays intact, and you can counter and break the posture of your foe in such a way that you get to do the 1 or 2 stabs needed to instantly take an entire health bar from your unexpecting foe. However, if you make mistakes and your posture breaks, well, you're as good as dead. Oddly, that is the perfect segue into our third major difference. You die in a Souls game, or Elden Ring, Bloodborne, what happens? Your souls, runes, blood echoes drop on the ground, and you spawn at the nearest checkpoint. In which case, you must go back and collect these items in order to be able to buy things and level up. If you die in Sekiro, what happens? You get the chance to auto-resurrect right there on the spot and continue the fight. Each time you fail, the world deteriorates more around you through the dragon rot system. However, you could fix this with divine tears, so even the resurrection style is way different between genres. Do I even have to go on? I mean, I'm going to. I get really tired of this argument, and I kind of want to do my best to drive a nail into this debate once and for all. So, just a couple of small things that set Sekiro apart from Souls-like. It's things like the prosthetics over RPG gear mechanics, and the fact that Sekiro seems to focus its gameplay loop around duels with big enemies and bosses, unlike what the traditional experience you get with the Souls-like games do. Yes, bosses are the most memorable part in all of the games, but the way they are fought is so different between the two. It's time now that we talk about the massive difference in the two styles of game, and that is how they tell their stories. In every single one of the games that pioneered the title of Souls-like, you are an outside hero who has come to these lands, has to piece together what has happened in a shattered and decayed society. Lore replaces true story in many places, and what you do find out is more about what caused the situation, other than what your character thinks and does in the story. You know what he is supposed to do, but you're not getting much out of the story from your perspective. You're just going through the paces the game gives you. With Sekiro, you are playing the character Wolf. Fun tangent here, but until a recent debate, I didn't know that Sekiro actually stands for one-armed wolf in Japanese. Good job there, FromSoftware. Anyway, who has his own motivations, is from the land that the story takes place in, and actually tells a story. Even if the game has multiple endings you get to choose from, it's still telling the story of what Wolf might do in each situation. Like Commander Shepard, you still play the character and get to experience the story, and more than just a lore perspective. So I've already made my arguments on why Sekiro shouldn't be considered a Souls-like, but if it were to get its own subgenre, what would we call it, and exactly what would make up the qualities of said genre? Why don't we just call it an action RPG and wrap this whole argument up? Well, do you think it fits in with the likes of DMC? I thought not. When we get into what qualities the new genre should be considered for, I'd say first things first is its precision parry style combat would probably be the linchpin in what makes up this new genre. The difference between a basic hack and slash and Sekiro are in the precision movements needed to activate a parry, and not just a block. The game needs to have a fixed kit progression where certain skills can be learned but not in the traditional RPG style of leveling with stat increases and whatnot. Let's not forget the inclusion of Wolf's prosthesis. We'll just say this is like combat gadget section, allowing for a bit of exploration and combat diversity. And last but not least is a duel-driven design to the world. Yes, you can have large group of enemies to challenge the player from time to time. However, the big bosses and even mini bosses should be set up in a way where it's a one-on-one fight and the player can truly show off the skills he's learned. And hell, naming it would be simple. We would simply call these styles of games Sekiro-likes. And why not something else? I understand some of you will ask, why give FromSoft another subgenre? Were there not games that came before that had similar functions? Why not give the genre title to one of those games instead? And while you're not wrong that there were similar games before, none of them had all of the rules we set in place for this subgenre. Games like Bushido Blade, Omnimusha, Ninja Gaiden, and Tenchu all had building blocks that were built upon to make what is Sekiro. Some had good parries, others had stealth, most had fixed kits that you had to play with, but none of them put it all together. And then came Sekiro, the game that fused them all together into one. The main reason I'm giving Sekiro the crown is the same reason that SoulsLike was not dubbed until after Dark Souls trilogy came out, and not when Demon Souls came out instead. It's due to the legacy of Sekiro. It wasn't the game that created the DNA that you can find in other games today, but it is the one that fused it in this unique way that we all love. Also, it don't hurt that Sekiro got Game of the Year in 2019. Now, if Sekiro was the only game that fit into this particular box, I wouldn't have even given a shit about making this video breakdown. The difference here is it would have just been me shouting at the wind like a madman. However, there have been several games that have been mislabeled as Souls-like or just action RPGs that I believe fall more smoothly into this subgenre. So humor me for just a few more minutes as I go over these, and if you would like me to argue my thoughts in a future video, say so down below. Games like Wo Long Fallen Dynasty. While it's heavier into the RPG mechanics, its parry system pushes it closer to a Sekiro-like than a Souls game. Black Myth Wukong feels a bit like a hybrid with how its exploration is, but again, its combat is almost all Sekiro all the way. Other games like Sifu and FIST, Forged in Shadow Torch, could also be put here. And then, for the game that I argue the most is like Sekiro in modern times, and the closest bearer to the soul of the game, is Stellar Blade. Between the combat, the gadgets, the character progression, it's all there if you're willing to look. Well guys, that's it. To me, Sekiro will never be a Souls-like. In fact, it's the first in its own breed of games. Games that we should start giving the reverence that they deserve and call Sekiro-like. Because categorizing games in the right way opens space for new games to be born and to develop its own genre. So help me to fix this miscategorization of Souls-like. And guys, do me a favor, if you agree with me, the next time you hear someone call Sekiro a Souls-like, correct them, because properly categorizing these things matters, and Sekiro deserves its own throne already. If you guys agreed with me, give the video a like and subscribe so you can see when I drop more videos or go live. A special thanks to our members. You guys keep the lights on around here and my editor fed. We have moved up now from Cheetos to ramen noodles. Thanks to you. And remember guys, be good to each other. See you in the next video. Peace.